will be as much alarming as a cancer in the adults. And I can see accomplished experts, especially Professor Rekha, Professor Umesh, Dr. Sudeep. I'm happy that this point is being taken care of. On our side, the leadership role is Professor Manoj, who is the Dean Academic, and a very competent faculty, Dr. Pradeep Agrawal, who will be in a way handling all this. And I'm sure the result should not, I would say, how do we decide a meeting is good? The meeting is good when the conclusions are resulting in, say, some tangible results, means not only the recommendation to the government, but also implementation in your institution. If we start with this point that we implement our own institution, that will be fair enough. So with that, I would say, I would request Dr. Pradeep Agrawal, please continue and carry on with the further meeting part. Okay, carry on. Right, bravo.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, should we start?
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. I, on behalf of AIIMS Rishikesh, extend a very warm welcome to our distinguished guest of honor, Padma Shri, Dr. Ravikant Sir, Director AIIMS, Professor Manoj Gupta Sir, Dean Academics, AIIMS Rishikesh. A heartfelt gratitude to our eminent speakers, Dr. Rekha Harish Ma'am, Dr. Umesh Kapil Sir, and Dr. Sudeep Sir for accepting the invitation and presiding over this webinar on addressing childhood obesity through front of packaged food labeling in India, and also Dr. Pradeep Agrawal sir and all the delegates who have joined with us. Now I would request Dr. Manoj Gupta sir to please present the welcome note. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. And at the outset, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all the participants, and especially the speaker from outside, Dr. Rekha Harish, who is chairperson IAP and CD Prevention Academy, Dr. Umesh Kapil, who is professor of epidemiology at Institute of Liver and Biliary Sciences, New Delhi, and Dr. Sudeep Bhattacharya, Assistant Professor, Department of Community Medicine, Himalayan Institute of Medical Science, Uttarakhand. I would also like to extend a warm welcome to our Honorable Director, Professor Ravikant. Ladies and gentlemen, we are passing through a very bad phase of pandemic for almost last more than 1.5 years. But we are hopeful and optimistic that this pandemic will fade away in next 1, 2, or 3 years. But the another kind of pandemic, I think, which most of the countries in the world are facing these days, and that is childhood obesity. Now, childhood obesity is a very major problem of most of the country in the world, including India. In our country, I think we have second highest number of childhood obesity after China, and there is no wonder that some effective measures are not taken, then we may have at number 1 place in the world. Now, the reason for childhood obesity is basically one, and that is when there is a mismatch between intake and output. Intake in terms of calories and output in terms of burn in calories. I always say that this is probably one account, or I can say this is probably one saving account where nobody will be happy to see his saving grow up, which means that every day what has been credited should be debited. Credited in terms of calorie intake should be debited out in terms of burn in calories. Modern gadgets have made the life so lazy and so, sedentary, that most of the children, they are happy to remain inside the house or inside their room, and they hardly go out for any outdoor activity. At the same time, the modern food in terms of ready to eat food or packaged food has given a large amount of calories to these children, and this ultimately result to childhood obesity, which later on lead to, many kind of health related problem, especially the non-communicable disease, whether it is hypertension or diabetes or even cancer. So it is very, very important that we should take some effective measure, and this is the right time that we should impress upon government to take an effective measures to reduce the, or to put a warning on the food which are available in the market, whether it is ready to eat food or packaged food. There is no doubt that the content of these packaged food are written on the packages, but it is written on such a place that it is hardly noticeable. At the same time, it is written in such a small font that it is hardly readable. So it is very important that if we can impress upon government to put a more effective warning, especially at a place where it can be easily noticeable and in a language which can easily be understood, probably then the consumer will come to know that what they are eating and how it will impact upon their future in terms of healthcare related problems. So this is very, very important, and I am happy that this issue has been taken up by healthcare professionals, and it is going to be a advocacy movement. And I'm happy that AIIMS Rishikesh has taken a lead in form of principal investigator, and also other institutions which are almost, I was told that 17 institutions are also participating in this advocacy movement, which belong to various institutes of national importance. So I wish this program a success, and once again, I welcome you all for this. Thank you, and over to you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I would request our eminent speaker for the day, Dr. Resh ma'am, who will be speaking on the topic childhood obesity NCDs. Can front of packaged food labeling in India help? I would like to introduce her. She is the chairman of Indian Academy of Pediatrics and has been a professor, Department of Pediatrics, HIMSR, and ex-professor at Department of Pediatrics, AMC Jammu. Over to you, ma'am.
Hello. Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Am I audible?
Absolutely audible. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Yes, ma'am.
It's
Hello,
indeed
yes, ma'am.
a very privileged moment and an honor for me to be here amongst such a august faculty for such a noble cause and for starting this movement, which is so close to my heart. I am sincerely thankful to Professor Padma Shri, Professor Ravikant ji, Dean and CEO of AIIMS Rishikesh, Dean Academics, Professor Manoj Kumar Gupta ji, Dr. Pradeep Agarwal, who is the principal investigator, and Dr. Sudeep, who have made me a part of this movement, and paying a homage to all our Corona warriors who have lost their lives in this pandemic, and bringing you my prayers and wishes for a very happy and healthy life ahead. I take up this issue. Now, the beginning of 21st century has brought in a cozy, lazy lifestyle, which is labeled as evolution by scientists. But I wonder if we can label it as an evolution, or is it a decay? Because it has led to a new pandemic of group of disorders in all regions of the world, irrespective of socioeconomic status. The non-communicable diseases, they include the chronic diseases which are not infectious. They tend to be of long duration and are a combination of genetic, physiological, environmental, and behavioral factors which contribute to a lifelong disability and result in premature deaths. The main diseases included under this heading are cardiovascular diseases, which not only include heart attacks, but also hypertension and strokes, cancers, chronic respiratory diseases, diabetes, obesity, mental health disorders, acquired and congenital heart diseases, and so on. In 1990, NCDs contributed only to 30% of the total disease burden, and it increased to 55% in 2016 itself. And you can imagine the proportion of global deaths which are occurring due to NCDs. It was just 37% in 1990, which rose to 61% in 2016, and currently it is around 70%. Earlier thought to be a disease of the West and the developed world, now it is becoming more of a disease of the low middle income countries. Why? Because 3/4 of all the NCD deaths occur in low middle income countries. And 82% of the premature deaths means there are deaths which occur less than 70 years of life. Total, there are 16 million deaths. And out of this, 82% occur in low middle income countries. And not only this, NCDs, once they start draining the finances of the family, the community, and the country, contribute to poverty, which further worsens NCDs, and it sets in a vicious circle. Talking about obesity, worldwide, we know obesity has tripled in figures from 1975 to 2016. But there has been a 10-fold increase in childhood and adolescent obesity in the previous 4 decades. And this is mammoth. This is too much. The WHO Commission on Childhood Obesity has revealed less than 5 years age group children who were just 31 million in 1990 have grown up to 39 million in 2019 and 20. It is projected to increase up to 70 million by 2025. And majority of this is happening in developing countries where the rate of rise of obesity is more than 30% higher than the developed world. This is evident in many of the reports from India. When we talk about the world figures of obesity, we must not forget the YY paradox, what Dr. Yudkin and Dr. Yajnik discovered and reported, that the same person, the same BMI at 2 different regions in the developed world and in the Asian population, it looks same, but internally, the Asian people have nearly 2.5 times more of body fat as compared to the Western population. And this is a very negative feature which gives rise to premature deaths and earlier heart disease in Asian region. This led to defining obesity cutoffs at a lower level as compared to the developed world. So if we now apply the lower figures of BMI, you can imagine what will happen to the total figures of obesity in Asian region. IAP was not behind. Under leadership of Dr. Vaman Khadilkar, they were quick enough to pick up and design charts which are suitable for our Indian children and decided the 2 cutoffs here. One is the 23 adult equivalent cutoff, which decides the overweight, and the other is 27 adult equivalent cutoff, which decides for the obesity. And what is more shocking than this survey? The Comprehensive National Nutrition Survey, which was conducted for the first time in such a huge numbers by Union Ministry of Health and Family Welfare from February 16 to October 18, involved measuring the anthropometry of as many as 1.12 lakh children 0 to 19 years old, and nearly 51,000 of them they gave the blood samples. And you will be shocked to hear that 1 in 10 school children were already pre-diabetic. 1% of the school children were already diabetic. We are talking of type 2 diabetes, which we never heard of in our PG period that we will be encountering. Earlier, whenever we used to think of type 2 diabetes, hypertension, and dyslipidemia, we used to refer all these older children to medicine, because now we have started observing adult onset diseases in even as early as toddler age group. 3% of these children had elevated cholesterols. 1/4 had low good cholesterol, that is HDL. 1/3 of these children had elevated triglycerides, and 7% of these children were already having a risk for chronic kidney disease. 5% of the adolescents were already hypertensive. And what is left? 2% of the children less than 5 years were either overweight or obese. 4% and 1% respectively were overweight and obese in 5 to 9 years age group. 5% and 1% in the adolescent age group. What else do we want? Where has something gone wrong in our environment? And why are we searching for childhood obesity? Because the roots of adult obesity, they lie in early childhood. This is the longest tracking of obesity from early childhood to adolescence, which is reported and up to date, which you can see clearly. The children with mild obesity in kindergarten school, in the 8th standard, almost 50% of them were still obese. And those children who were severely obese in the kindergarten school, out of them, nearly 75 to 80% were obese in the 8th standard. This tracking, which is related to age, parental obesity, and the severity of illness, forms the basis for concepts of intervention in early in life to prevent and treat obesity. And what has COVID done to childhood obesity? Everywhere where you see the people locked down and enjoying food, because that is the only stress buster along with mobiles which is left in this current pandemic. And what has happened? 1 year has passed and the results are already there. The most affected population is 5 to 9 years, and obesity rate has increased, whereas 1% in the adolescent age group, it has increased 2.6% in 5 to 9 years. This is reported in Pediatrics, the Journal of American Academy of Pediatrics. The struggle over the millennia to eliminate the arduous efforts and the laborious efforts, which did not see the adversities of modern technology, have resulted in certain risk factors which have multiplied and have started thriving in this current environment. WHO, which had earlier formed a framework of 4x4, has now converted into a 5x5 framework, where these 5 common diseases, NCDs, are need to be tackled by 5 key modifiable risk factors, which are preventable, totally preventable. And first and foremost of them is unhealthy diet, physical inactivity, air pollution, tobacco, and alcohol. And all of them overlap with each other as a cause for all of these major 5 illnesses. So we have to start thinking prevention of obesity and NCDs right from childhood. We don't have to wait further. And we must understand that 2/3 of the antecedents to the NCDs, they emerge in childhood and adolescence. They continue to in adulthood. You cannot stop a child who is addicted since birth to, since infancy to a very high sugar, fat and salt level to suddenly change in adulthood. His habits will persist throughout his life. The risk factors, they will remain behavioral, and they have full roots established in childhood. India has a population of around 47.3 crores less than 18 years age group, which comprises of nearly 40% of the population. And if we target this population, this would be the best investment. Why? Because not only it will give you positive impact immediately, but it will also help the country to meet its health goals. The future of the country will improve. And not only this, these children, once they go back home to their families and to the community, they are our ambassadors. They teach the families also and the community also what to do, what is correct for them. And it is a long-term harness in the demographic dividends. When we talk of unhealthy eating, as rightly pointed out by Professor Venkanji, that there are 3 components. One is the quality of food, other is the quantity of food, and our third is our eating behaviors. I'll be touching on tangentially on only the salient points which are required in this short period of time. So what happened? The unhealthy food, which was earlier called junk food or HFSS, high in fat, salts, sugars, has been replaced by a mnemonic by IAP recently in this as a junks food. J stands for HFSS, that is high in fat, salt, sugar. It is all junk, no all calories and nothing else. U stands for ultra processed food. This is the NOVA classification group 4 group of foods. N is nutritionally inappropriate, means whatever it is, whether it is home cooked or procured from the market, if it is nutritionally inappropriate, it is junk. C stands for caffeinated, carbonated, or even colored foods and drinks. S stands for sugar sweetened beverages. Not touching them, just touching them, salient points. A word about the NOVA classification. It classifies foods into 4 categories. One is the basic, the natural food, unprocessed or minimally processed foods, which is available from plants and animals. And second is the processed culinary ingredients, which are used to prepare this group 1 of food. Third is the processed food, which have some process, but they are sort of a mixture of group 2 and group 1, and they, like, you make pickles at home, etc. Then fourth is the ultra processed food, where the raw material was originating from the food, but it has been treated so many times, it has been chemically treated, it has been colored, it has been adulterated, it has been subjected to so many chemical processes, that ultimately what is left is just tasty product which has a very long shelf life, and it can be distributed, can reach any part of the world. It is hyper palatable, therefore very addictive, and it of course results in a very high profit to the food industry. And there is ample evidence that whenever the household availability of UPF or ultra processed food is increased, the prevalence of obesity also rises. And there is mammoth evidence of the ultra food processed food consumption and its association with various NCDs, obesities, and its comorbidities. This was a survey which we conducted from the Center of Science and Environment, where 13,000 children were surveyed, and it was found that almost 94% of them had consumed immediately before the salted packaged foods, 95% had consumed sweet packaged foods, and sugar sweetened beverages were consumed by. So almost all of these children are consuming all these 3 things at such a high rate. What has gone wrong? If we see the milieu in which the children are being brought up these days, they barely learn to sit, but they have developed the interest in screen. They will learn to handle the screen earlier than they start speaking. They are children of working, guilty parents who lack time. They have already handed mobiles in the hand of children with money in their pocket, and they are being pumped with advertisements. They have strong pestering power and yielding grandparents or maids around. The schools which have only thrust on academics, they don't bother about physical activity, of course, in the pre-COVID times. The home refrigerator and almirah has the same content as is there in the school canteen. These children are often awake late night, they miss their breakfast, they are having lunch alone at home in front of TV, and barely parents have time to eat with children, and food is a mandatory part of celebration, reward, guilt, whatever it is, and there is free home delivery on one phone call 24/7. And the food industry is 24/7 search of such permanent loyal clients right from the cradle till they land up into the grave. They have so many tactics to influence the children, to attract the children, to attract their parents, the community, to give them misinformation, hide the actual facts, and they can go on. Just the target is one, to have loyal clients and reach their sales target. So the child is a victim of his environment, and the environment is wrong everywhere, the home, the school, and the community. So what are we looking for in this environment? We have sufficient evidence which is high quality evidence with very strong strength of recommendation, that if we limit the child's consumption of sugar sweetened beverages, have a diet which has recommended amount of fruits and vegetables according to age, which we don't allow these children to miss their breakfast, we try to have family meals together, we limit eating out or even ordering food from outside, and adjust the portion sizes which have gone enormously high over the last 4 decades, we might be able to attain the healthy eating behaviors. A word about sugars. The children are the main clients to consume sugar sweetened beverages. Almost more than 50% of the consumption is by them. We all know the high sugar content of all the drinks which are available in the market, but we really don't bother to read the amount of sugar which is present in per bottle, or we don't even bother to open up the labels because it's written in such small fonts behind in the folds, and even a diabetic person would not be able to search where that is written. But I want to draw your attention to the so-called health drinks which are being claimed to be recommended by pediatricians, but none of the pediatricians might be recommending so. They are claimed that their kids can grow better, they gain height better, and for picky eater children you recommend this, and it is a complete balanced nutrition. This is shocking. I want to bring your attention that these are also sugary sweetened beverages. They are all loaded with sugars. I haven't named the brands. You can take any brands. I have a full list of health drinks, so-called health drinks. And this term health is itself deceptive here. See the amount of sugar per 100 grams in these. What will happen? Once the child consumes this, the mother doesn't have time. She just mixes 2 teaspoons in the glass of milk and gives it to the child. The child starts jumping, he is running because he is hyperkinetic now. And within a few hours, he's exhausted and he is left fatigued because the blood sugars have gone down. And the conception that it has given energy to the child, this is absolutely wrong. And the sugar terms which are used in the food labels are too many and difficult to remember. I can't even remember and I can't even understand them. And this is how, if you don't write sugar, you write whatever of these terms, who will be able to interpret whether this is sugar or something else? And now the up-to-date and the US government's dietary guidelines say that you don't add any sugar till the age of 2 years so that the taste buds of the child and the toddler remain addicted to the lowest levels of sugar and they don't get addicted to junk later on. A word about salt. WHO says that 16 years and above, the adult limit is 5 grams of salt or 5,000 milligrams of salt in a day, which is equivalent to only 2 grams of sodium or 2,000 milligrams of sodium. And 2 to 15 years of age, it is based on their energy level. Roughly, it comes to 1 milliequivalent of sodium per calories. So we can give a rough idea of the limit of the uppermost limit of sodium. So what the community doesn't know, that if the food industry writes sodium, then the levels will be less and the community might take, or the child might take it for a low sodium or low salt diet. And these are the other food groups which have such a high loads of sodium, which we don't know, which we really don't bother, because let's see our breads, the cakes and pastry, they are also having sodium. So sauces and all, they are also having sodium, which we are not aware of. We are just counting the salt which we are adding. Then a word about fat. These are the various cutoffs recommended. Just a word about trans fats. They are uncontroversially the worst fats in the world. They increase the risk of heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, not only by increasing the LDL, which saturated fats also do, but they also decrease the HDL, and this leads to a very dangerous situation and of causing heart attacks so earlier. They are formed by solidification of the vegetables oils, so hydrogenation of the oil. So if instead of trans fat somebody writes partially hydrogenated vegetable oil, it might sound very benign thing, but it is actually a trans fat, and it is found in a variety of food products, because no baked good can stay stiff and solid till there is some trans fat in it. The shelf life of the food will also be longer if trans fats are used. So that is why they are being used in the these are the results of the Center for Science Environment, where they conducted they analyzed the packaged food samples and see the amount of salt and total fat in per 100 grams of packaged foods which is there. And this is the fast foods, which are non-packaged foods, which are also similar. So if we take non-packaged foods as if they are benign, that is also very dangerous. We must know they are also. Then the false media claims and the misleading labels, they are the most adverse factors in any health campaign or any campaign where we want to bring out awareness. The tags of healthy, real, natural, active, energy, low in fat, it is having lethal sodium, but it is low in fat. The taglines that a child will become brilliant, he will become taller, he will be winning a race. These are the taglines used by the children. So these taglines are the attraction for children. They attract the parents because everybody wants their child to be healthy and smart. The media personality is showing six-pack abs while drinking SSBs. It is pathetic. Then jumping miles, jumping over the buildings, mountains and rivers after having an SSB. How can a doctor or a healthcare professional remove this myth from the mind of a small child who's observing this ad every day? Every day it is being repeatedly hammered into his immature brain. And then anybody wearing a white apron can start recommending anything, right from a floor cleaner to anything which is edible or anything. So whenever you buy any product, please don't get led by these terms, baked. Please check the calorie value of the baked versus the regular ones. You might not find them different. Decode the term healthy. This soup is healthy because it is low in fat, but see the amount of sugar which is there. We were not aware that this soup will also contain sugar because it's a salty drink. And look at the sodium. It is already nearly 5,000 milligrams, on 100 grams. This is a 2.5 days adult requirement of sodium, which is there in 100 grams of this soup. How can it be a healthy soup? See the regular and the diet snacks. There is barely any difference in the calories. Please read these labels. You'll find the difference. The caffeine content. We all know the content. There is some caffeine in coffee, tea, and all these energy drinks. They are labeled as energy drinks, but they are having high levels of caffeine. A healthy adult should not take more than 400 milligrams per day of caffeine, and children and adolescents, less than 2.5 milligram per kg per day appears to be safe. And if we accumulate 1 cup of tea in a day, 1 can of soda, 1 chocolate, and some drink at night, coffee at night to stay awake and study, you can imagine how easily a child can cross the to unsafe limits. So addressing obesity within the healthcare system alone is not at all sufficient. It needs a life course approach, starting from right from birth. The pre-pregnancy weight should be normal, of the BMI of the mother should be normal. Then appropriate measures are from infancy, childhood, adolescent till adulthood. So ideally, when should you worry? Everybody will refer a child once he lands here. Everybody will come to know that this is an obese child. Now he should go to an endocrinologist. This might also happen with this child who has just crossed the overweight centile and is in overweight. But what about these two children? They have just started rapidly increasing the weight. The shape of the curve of the BMI curve has just straightened. This is the time, not this. This is the time when we need to go around the child, see what is going wrong with the child, see what has gone wrong in the environment of the child at family, at school, and the community level. What is wrong with it? Sometimes treating a child with obesity is not a one person's job. It is the whole families. We have to involve the grandparents also, the parents also, and tell them what is right and what is wrong, so that the things stop here only. And not, our target is not to treat the adolescent child with bariatric surgery. Our target is to pick up these children and prevent it right when it is starting. So the actions are required not only by the child, family, school, community, media personalities. FSSAI is working very hard. Government is also trying hard to push in certain regulations. IAP has also started doing this job and has come out with the advocacy. And if we can request the food industry also to modify their compositions, it would be wonderful. IAP has come out with guidelines for children, parents, pediatricians, schools, food labeling, advertising, marketing, and advocacies. A lot has been done. Dr. Kapil and knows how we worked hard for getting the junk food ban in the Delhi High Court PIL. Then government also has, under the Ayushman Bharat, launched last year only the health education program and health and wellness program for children. But because of this pandemic, the things are a bit delayed. There is a policy on advertising, taxing, imposition of additional taxes. If we could treat junk food as tobacco and promote additional taxes, stop advertising, many of the things could be resolved. But FOP labeling is a huge task in front of us. It's an important public health tool, which is attempt to promote balanced diet by enhancing the public health awareness. It also helps us to understand the nutritional value and help us make the healthy food choice. And if you have two similar products, you can compare the nutritional value of the similar food products and make a healthier choice. So it is an important public health tool and has been worldwide recognized for this. The information available on the food label, often what when we hold these workshops in the schools, we've been asking children, their parents, what do you look for? They only look for the expiry date, or at most whether it is veg or non-veg. Rest of the information is they have never even read. What is there in the list of ingredients, they don't bother. What is there, what is the serving size, they don't bother, because nobody understands this. So we need a food label which is aligned with national public health policy, is based on transparent and easily accessible principles of recommendation. The symbols should be interpretative, or they could be based on traffic light colors based this thing, or some quantifiable elements. It should be easy to understand. The nutritional criteria chosen should be easily interpretable, and it should assist in informed choices. It's like an informed consent that this product is very high in fat. It is your choice whether you want to take it or not, or how much do you want to take it. And then also it should provide an appropriate comparison in the food groups. It should be uniformly applicable to all, provided, and should be a consumer friendly, so that the consumer is also illiterate consumer is also taken care of. The consumer who cannot understand English language is also conveyed the message, which is very difficult. Then children also pick up the information, and it makes a quick assessment, because the person is buying the product in a mall or a store, and he doesn't have time to calculate. You see the serving size, it might be written 23 grams, and the content is according to those 23 grams, the multiplication, division. So that the person thinks, okay, let me go by the ad where my media personality said that it's very healthy, so he'll go and buy it. So it should be a quick assessment tool, so that the person is able to decide faster. What should be the components? The components, it's a huge topic with the many subspecialties. first subspecialty is that which nutrients should be included, whether we should include fat, whether should we include total fat or saturated fat or trans fat, or we should include sodium instead of salt, or salt should be there because salt will be easily understood. Should it be color coded? If it is color coded and it gives this type of response, one is red and other is, the community will think, okay, it has two green, so it might be healthier. Then which thresholds to be used, and what should be the cutoff level? Should it be per serving size or per 100 grams? And which threshold should be used? WHO CRO has given certain guidelines. Suppose we apply our guidelines and this is the result. It is again not going to help the community because everything is very harmful. So under the new regulations, the companies will have to display the nutrition data clearly on the front of pack, and the FSSAI is already working on these aspects and adding the information in the process of designing this information. We need to learn from success stories of other countries, how they are. Chile is using this warning label that is high in salt, simple, clear, and easy to understand. Israel has proposed this. So we need to learn from the success stories of this thing. And European standards, they have written high caffeine content, not recommended for, at least the child knows that it is not recommended. If he takes or his parents give, so it's an informed consent. So front of pack labeling is ideally only for adolescents and adults. There nowhere the child population has been taken care of. And what happens is once the adult finds a green label pack, he thinks that it is safe for me. So he gives it to his own children also. And what will happen? This cutoff levels were decided on the basis of 2000 calories, which start from the 10 years of age till adulthood. And from that, the calculation is done, how to restrict sodium, how to calculate sugar, fats, and saturated fats. I can't go into all these details. But what about the small children? So if we make our child understand, this is the commonest menu which is ordered by an adolescent when he goes to a restaurant. A burger, he gets this free, he wants something to drink, and then he wants a sweet. So what is the value? What is the amount of calories which has consumed? He has already consumed more than 2000 calories. This child has already consumed taken the whole day's calories here. He has consumed more than the fats which were allowed him permitted to him for a day. The saturated fat is already double. The sugars are already nearly 5 times the daily requirement. So what is left? So this child is an adolescent child, 10 or 12 years old child, is not going to remember these figures. He might forget them and he might substitute one for the other. So what would be easier? Maybe that if we make the child understand that if he has had this meal, he has to now run for 4.5 hours, or he has to go on walking for 8.5 hours just to burn out the calories which he has consumed in this one meal. It might create a better and easier comparison. So there is a need for simple, clear, color-coded, informative, and a warning label on the food, any food product, which is easy to understand by the community and the child and helps us in logical decision. So the consumers here also should be literate, they should know the language, and they should understand the serving size is one area which undermines all the good being done to the society. If I label a serving size in a small pack, if you have a 200 ml pack of drink which is available in the market and give the serving size as 100 ml, how will a person come to know that this is 100 ml and here I should stop? So it's very tricky and it undermines everything which has been done by the labeling. The consumer should know about the permissible amount which he can take, so that once there is a green label, it doesn't lead to overconsumption. He should know his daily RDA for not only for himself, but his child also. And the synonyms used for sugar. Understand sodium is not synonymous with salt. His daily sodium requirement is only 2 grams a day. Should have some knowledge of the content of other food items also, which are non-packaged. What about the non-packaged foods? Yes, they should also become every thali of samosas should have a label that each samosa has this much calories, this much of trans fat. Then they should not be carried away by the false media claims and the irresponsible behavior of media personalities. They should rather themselves come out and say sorry to the community for the harm which they have done to the society by advertising for sugar sweetened beverages as healthy drinks. And then we should learn best how to avoid these packaged food items, decrease their demand so that their sales doesn't increase, and replace them with homemade, healthy yet tasty recipes. So the take home messages from my behalf would be that let us make the community read the food labels once before buying any product from the market, and along with the serving size. Then they should know their daily upper limit of intake. Food labels are based on adolescent and adult intakes. They do not apply to small children. Foods which need to be advertised can never be healthy. They can never be better than homemade food. Overconsumption of healthy foods also causes obesity. Ensure that every baby gets the mother's feed from birth within 1 hour of birth. The first junk food which is given in our society to a newborn is the tinned milk or the formula feed. Then the mother's feed should continue till 2 years of age. Ensure that additional homemade complementary feeding is started from 6 months onwards. It's not that once we started telling the mothers that you give exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months, 6 months and one day they were ready with bottle to give feed. It's not so. The mother's feed has to be continued for at least 2 years minimum, and has to be complemented with complementary feed, which has to be homemade and not bought from the tins from 6 months of age onwards. And the target should be that the child eats from the family pot from 1 year onwards, and child learns from the environment. So if everybody around follows the principle 5210 principle of healthy lifestyle, it will be a boon for the child. You have 5 different colors of 5 servings of fruits and vegetables in a day. 2, you cut the screen time to 2 hours or less in a day. It is very difficult in COVID times, but yes, we have to try and control it. Participate in 1 hour of moderate to vigorous physical activity every day, and say no to all the cola drinks, all the sugar sweetened sports and fruit drinks and health drinks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Your session was full of knowledge and interesting facts. I hope everybody would like to incorporate the take-home message which you have suggested. Now I would request Dr. Umesh Kapil sir, who is Professor Clinical Epidemiology at Institute of Liver and Biliary Sciences, who will be delivering a lecture on what is the front of pack labeling and how FOPL can intervene in prevention of childhood obesity, India's initiatives in the implementation of FOPL. Over to you, sir.
Uh, Thank you very much. I am so grateful to Professor Ravi Kanji and Dr. Pradeep Agarwal for giving me this opportunity. Honestly speaking, Dr. Rekha Harish lecture was so full of information. It was so educative to me also. I learned a lot of new things. No, honestly speaking, it was a good and very good presentation. And ma'am, particularly you mentioned about the importance of physical activity, importance of food, and so on and so forth. We are really grateful to you. It was a very educative presentation. uh, I would be mainly talking about only on three aspects. I know that quite a good large number of participants are not aware about this term FOPL, that's the front of package labeling, and what could be the possible impact of FOPL on the population or the community, and what are the initiatives which have been taken by Government of India on front of package labeling. Now, this is something very important, and I have been in this area for almost last 10 years, uh, not specifically gone into the FOPL, but providing evidence to Government of India, WHO, trying to what could be the scientific basis of FOPL. Now, if you look at the, as Madam rightly pointed out, that non-communicable diseases are increasing. Everybody knows about it. The deaths are becoming more, the disability, morbidity are becoming more. But only two reasons, two major reasons. One is consumption of energy dense food, and second is physical inactivity. They may be all associated factors, but if you look at consumption of foods which are energy dense, they and the physical inactivity. Somehow, there's so many other associated factors, but these two are most important. Now, we have been talking about FOPL and the overweight and obesity. And if you look at in India, the prevalence of overweight and obesity is rising rapidly. And again, it's an unhealthy diet and the physical inactivity which is important. And unfortunately, the unhealthy foods are also available in the rural areas also. You go and see chow mein being sold in rural areas, momos being sold in rural areas. This is unheard of maybe 50 years back, but because of the TV advertisement and so forth, this is the changing scenario in our country. Now, single study doesn't provide much information, but a recent meta-analysis, that is all the observational studies which have been conducted, when they get analyzed, we call it meta-analysis. And a recent publication was made by Huck et al. What they did, that they took 73 studies which were conducted in Indian subcontinent. 95% of data was from our country, and the diagnosis was based on BMI cutoffs. And the study duration was 1981 to 2011. And what they found was in rural areas, we had about 2 to 6% of overweight and obesity. And if you look at in the semi-urban or non-affluent urban, the overweight and obesity was 16 to 18%. And if you look at the affluent urban, it was between 26 to 36%. Quite alarming. So that means we are becoming gradually obese. Now, these are some of the studies which have been uh, analyzed by Huck et al. And I must take or my team takes the credit that we were the first one in the country who established the prevalence of obesity and overweight in the affluent population. And when we collecting the data in year 2000, we were criticized that what's wrong with you? People have been talking about undernutrition, PEM, and you're collecting data on overweight and obesity. Now, Madam has also talked about this comprehensive national nutrition survey. A word about it, that this is a survey which have been undertaken in all the children between 1 to 18 years of age. and they use the NFHS sampling methodology to have a comparison sort of a thing. And then what they have found that overweight is, if you look at the total scenario in the country, we have about 3.7% of our children across all socioeconomic groups overweight and obesity. And if you look at some of the states like Nagaland, Goa, they have 14%, more than 14% overweight and obesity. This is something very, very challenging for public health specialists. And so is the, if you look at the states which are so-called socioeconomically backward, like Jharkhand, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Uttarakhand, you find that the overweight and obesity is much less as compared to the well-to-do states. Now, similarly, if you look at the uh, overweight and obesity amongst 10 to 19 years, we are finding almost similar, I think Goa 14%, 14.2%, again Bihar. So these are the poor states or socioeconomically backward states. But what is important is that overall we are progressing towards an difficult situation. Now, coming to the front of package labeling, it is a part of a comprehensive policy to promote healthy diet so that people can have reduce over, say, they don't become overweight, obese, and they can prevent themselves from diet-related non-communicable diseases. Main aim is to promote healthy diet and then simultaneously minimize the consumption of unhealthy diet. Now the package, the FOPL, is a very simple method of differentiating between healthy and unhealthy food. We must remember this is a part of a comprehensive package which is being done. Now, it's a very quick and straightforward information to consumers, what companies are producing and what consumers are eating. It can help in identifying what are the foods and beverages which are unhealthy. And when you look at it, then people can try to avoid those unhealthy foods. Now, there are basically four nutrients which are of concern to the nutritionists, public health experts, pediatricians. That's number one is total calories present in that particular packaged food. What are the saturated fat contents and trans fat contents? The third is sugar, and fourth is salt. So it's a calories, fat, sugar, and salt. And normally, when we talk about the foods which are high in fat, sugar, and salt, are always rich in calories. So these are the foods which needs to be avoided, and we are trying to avoid or minimize their consumption through the FOPL. Now there are two varieties of FOPL. One is interpretive and second is non-interpretive. I'll just give you a little bit of example of it. The interpretives are the one which provides a judgment on nutrient present in the packaged food. Now this is something important because if you look at the foods which are if you look at these foods, you can have a judgment. They provide the judgment that this food is good or not good. Now, say for example, these are some of the packaged foods. Like this is something which is being practiced in Brazil or in, say, in Chile for last 10 years. And this black one, every food item which have a excess of calorie than it is required per 100 gram of food, then it gives you a black spot. This talks about excess of calories or excess of fat. Similarly, we have this traffic light signal. I'll come to it little more in detail about it. That okay, now so these are some of the Chile, Israel. They talk about they have every country have their own symbols which talks about if they're present on that particular food. It warns the population that please these foods are basically you should not consume because they are either high in fat or salt or sugar. Now these have been found to be extremely helpful and useful in what you call uh, identifying uh, these food items. Now this ma'am has also talked about this traffic light signal. Red means if they are high, amber colored or yellow colored, what we call it in our country, is medium. Green, you can go ahead and take it as far as fat, sugar, and salt are concerned. Now, this is something, an example. This is low, this is low in saturated, but this particular example gives high in sugar. This is medium or moderate salt content of this particular packaged food which is present. So this FOPL talks about this traffic light signal. Now then other varieties of FOPL or front of package shows that they don't provide any judgment on the type of foods available in that particular packaged food. They just give you the information. Look at this is the information about this food. We have nothing to say about it. No recommendations, right? And this is something which is important. Now here, it's a educated consumer has to take a final decision that whether this food should be consumed or not. And usually they give there's a format that how much calories, how much fat, sugar, and salt is available in these foods. And as of now, if you look at the packaged foods which are available in our country, they usually have these four, and sometimes they put down to improve their what you call brand value or the status of the food. They talk about the nutrients also, vitamins also, minerals also, but these four things are always present. Now it provides information, nothing more than that. Okay, this is the information which is available, and now you take whether you want to give it or you don't want to give it. Now, so again I mentioned this is a summary, basically a nutrient specific system. This provides you have to interpret by looking at the traffic lights, red, stop, yellow, hold on, green, you can go ahead and do it. These are the black symbols, and they have been found to be extremely useful in some of the countries which I'll talk about. Now, these front of package labels are not that easy to be implemented. Whenever you want to do it, you have a big resistance from the industry. And what the industry do? They want to delay it. They want to divide the scientific community in the one group or the second group. They deflect your attention, deflect the attention of the government to a different direction. They deny that we are not going to do it. Now, this is something very important, and the scientists put their all best efforts, look out all the data, evidence, and everything, and give it to the government, and then government try to put it there. But again, in a democratic country like ours, we have a system that whatever the scientific data, whatever they would like to implement, they have to take it to the public, they have to take it to the stakeholders, and who wants to give their comments. So what they do is they put down, they go to the court, they hire the best lawyers in the country, okay, that these foods, whatever the levels we are talking about, the limits we are talking about, they want to put it to the higher levels. Okay, we want to lower them. Again, there are a lot of difficulties which is there, and sometimes they do gratifications to the scientific community members, so they get divided. So and so forth. I'll little bit talk about more on this in my future slides. Now, what is the evidence of FOPL on the introduction in a community? This is another important issue, that how this FOPL really have an impact on the childhood obesity. Well, I would like to say that going to the review of literature, we find that I think so they were first time introduced in a structured manner. It was done much in a flexible manner in US, other countries. In 2012, they put down FOPL. Please correct me if I am wrong. Was introduced first time. Okay, and Chile was the first country to adopt it. And so the time available with us from 2012 to 2020, it's not sufficient time to look at the impact of consumption leading to lowering of what you call childhood obesity. What we do have is we can explore by mathematical modeling that yes, if the consumption have gone down, possibly it will have an impact on the childhood obesity. Now, I'll just take about 5 minutes or so on Chile. It's a case study. They introduced the so-called labeling, food labeling, and what they did was that every front pack, the front of pack would have a signal or a warning message in black and white, which talks about high in, followed by a nutrient exceeding the limit. Now, it may talk about that this is a signal which talks about this food is high in calories. This food is high in saturated fats. This food is high in sodium. Now, this is something very important, that once you see a black sign or black symbol, then you get worried about it. Should I eat it or should I not eat it? Now, there have been some observational studies which have been there, and they've been doing it in 2015 and they repeated in 2017. Yes, what they have found that Chile took it as a mission mode, as a very aggressive mode. Okay, like we have a Swachh Bharat Abhiyan or Fit India movement or sanitation drive. Similarly, they took it, and what they found, yes, by implementing these food labels, there was significant decline in purchases of beverages, which was unhealthy in for the consumption of the population. Now, another study which was conducted, which they recently published in 2019, and they did find that yes, has an influence on purchase of foods which are unhealthy, right? So we are talking about purchase. We are not talking about direct impact on the nutritional status or childhood obesity. Now, this is a meta-analysis. Sorry for the spelling mistake. It's a meta-analysis, and these people have done meta-analysis of all the observational studies which were done, and they looked at the consumption and purchasing power of front of package labeling introduction. And then they found that the 14 studies, and they found that the foods which have sugar, high in sugar and sodium contents, they were purchased in lower amount as compared to areas where no such FOPL was in practice. Now, this is something important that yes, overall, if you look at the purchase of such type of foods is lower in the community where these FOPL are being introduced, but they're introduced in a supported by a intensive health education, TV advertisement, and so on and so forth. Now, they also talked about the overall reduction of, there was a 23% reduction in the uh, high purchases which are high or unhealthy in uh, unhealthy foods. Similarly, in the children who are studying in the high school, it was 21% reduction. Those who have completed high school, it was 19%. Those who are in colleges, it was almost 28%. Now, this is something important. Although we think that these things are not possible in our country, but I tell you one thing, once you start, we have, if you made a good beginning, there's a lot of what you call progress can be achieved. Remember that about 15 years back, we thought that the smoking, cigarette smoking in public space places will not have any impact if we take out a rule. Forget about it. Now, anybody who finds he smokes in this public area, he has a guilty conscience that look, he is not doing something right. So we can make the difference if we want. Now, also some of these meta-analysis also found that it encourages the consumption, the purchase of healthier foods. However, the evidence on consumption of nutrients which were unhealthy was limited and inconsistent. Now, I talked about the Chile data. Now, what happens in India? NIN conducted a similar, simple cross-sectional study. And what they found was they did it in two metro malls, and where the education level was 99%. And what they found was that the even the such a high education back population sample which they had, the information on packaged food was not utilized for purchase of a particular food. What was basically, it was, as ma'am just said, that was an expiry date they looked into. Okay, some women, a small percentage, they looked into what was the fat content in the food, what is the uh, sugar content of the food. Another important observation they made that the FOPL was text intensive means so much of text is being given and so much a small font size, right? So most of these people are not educated. Nutrition literacy is poor. They're not educated about how much should be my RDA, how much should I be consuming, whether I should eat it or not, how much is going to contribute to my total calorie requirement. So what is happening is that they also recommended that we need FOPL or front of package labels, which should be symbol based. And they found that the symbol of vegetarian and non-vegetarian food was utilized much higher as compared to other FOPL. Now, this will be my last part of presentation. That what are the initiatives which have been taken by Government of India in implementation of FOPL. Now, this data is being collected for a long time. In fact, since 2010, WHO has been pushing that yes, we should have a front of package labeling, and this is important if you want to have healthy food consumption. So WHO has a strategy for that. And so using the Indian government, particularly the Food Safety Standard Authority of India, which has a prime responsibility of ensuring that population of people in India should have healthy food, they developed our guidelines, and over they put it down on the web. That is the gadget notification. Sometime in 19 they have put down, and this contains this considered this particular FOPL, which has been developed by FSSAI. It has symbols, it has a nutrient content, okay, and the nutrient content is basically on the basis of RDA, recommended dietary allowances of Indian, as just ma'am told, that how much you're consuming. If you take one serving, how much of your calories would be met by this particular food, one serving of this particular food. And they said that every packaged food would must have the saturated fat contents, trans fat contents, and cholesterol content. These are the three things in the fat category. Salt content, then how much percent of this nutrients which are being consumed in a per serving would be meeting the recommended dietary allowances. I'll come to it more in detail about it. And number of servings per pack and the serving size. Now this is a difficult area, but they have included it because packing per serving size differs from population to population in different parts of the country. Anyway, now what they have done is, for calculation of this, what they have done is basically they have taken the RDA of a man, women and men, they have combined it, and they said it's a 2000 kilocalories of energy should be consumed by a person per day, 67 gram of fat, 2 gram of trans fat is the maximum, 50 gram of sugar, 5 gram of salt. Now this is the basis on which they have said that we would be putting up in the FOPL. Say for example, if we have the calories is about 400 out of 2000, 20% is 400. So that means this much of calories should be available in the package per serving. Okay, now second thing what they have done is, this is as per the serve, and second is per serve percentage contribution. Suppose it's contributing 400 kilocalories, then it's a 20%. Total fat should be 6.7, that's a 67. So 10% of this is 67. Now what is happening is, this particular symbol, say FOPL, which has been proposed by the government of India, has basically two components. One is symbol based, and second is the nutrient which is being provided through this particular serving. Now Indian government is foolproof, and what they have done is that if a particular food or serving, packaged food serving, provides more than the required amount, okay, then a red color has to be provided. Red color for that particular nutrient has to be provided, whether it is sugar or trans fat or total calories, right? Now, if it is 32%, that means that a red color should be given in the front of package say front of package label. Now, this is something which is making the what you call commercial organization, the food industry, very, very uncomfortable. Now, if you look at what has been seen is that 25% of our population is illiterate. They cannot read, and that too small font size. So Government of India and FSSAI also have a feeling that we need to have a simple method for the selecting of the healthy food amongst all the food products available in the market. Now, this is something very important, and a pictorial or a symbol-based FOPL is always important. It can be so. Some of the important food labels which we have. This is for the all fortified foods. This is what we have is Javik Bharat for the organic foods which we are consuming. This is for the vegetarian. This is for the non-vegetarian. Now, it's not that I'm just giving you an oral idea about it, but our legislation is very particular that the font size should be this much, the area should be this much, this is the place it should be located. If you look at the cigarette packs, it's a very clearly put down that 70% of the packet should have a label, a picture showing the cancer who has the person who's smoking with the cancer photograph. So we are very advanced as far as doing the FOPL is concerned, but unfortunately, the Indian food industry are not supporting, because ultimately they look at their bottom line, and their bottom line is their profit. Now, the red color particularly, they say, no, we'll never allow a red color because red color shows danger. Everywhere, if you see the traffic light, red means stop. If you look at the red light in the railways, stop. So they said that we are not going to implement it. So we are still having a lot of debates and counter debates about it. They want evidence, we are giving them evidence, but again they say large number of countries have voluntary labeling. Okay, so why the government of India wants to force us to do this particular type of labeling? So let's see what happens subsequently. Now there have been a lot of news that this wrong move, wrong time, India color codes regulation is hitting red light with the industry. Well, we'll see what happens. But what is important is for industries, we have to give them evidence-based response. Usually these cases go into the court and we provide the evidence to the honorable judge and they take the decision. This is a WHO nutrient profile model for Southeast Asia, in which India has a major contributor. And I personally collected 1,000 packaged foods from different parts of the country and try to look into what are the food labels, what are the nutrient contents of these packaged foods. And they have acknowledged, the Southeast Asian countries have acknowledged my contribution here. Now, which is more important is that we have to ensure that food labels should be symbol based. We have to support it with public education system, public education, both by the adults and children. For also these adults and children should be talked about their nutrition literacy. I understand that the 10+2 classes, the syllabus also have some of these symbols, which is very good. And some of the students who were surveyed had the knowledge and recall, yes, this is what it is. So I must tell to all of you that India is ready with solid evidence and we would be able to take it forward. With this, my thanks to Dr. Pradeep Agarwal, Dr. Ravi Kanji for giving me this opportunity. And I'm also grateful to Dr. Rekha Harish for delivering such a wonderful presentation, which helped me to update my knowledge. Thank you. Thanks once again. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Umesh Kapil sir, for enlightening us about FOPL and the evidence which we have generated so far and how India initiative and help in lessening the burden of obesity. As sir has already said, that the most important thing is that in India we need nutrition literacy, which is lacking. And I'll be showing a video which resonates with sir's opinions that nutrition literacy is not literacy is not effective in Indian population, for which FOPL should be implemented. In this video, we have a working mother and a homemaker, Mrs. Methani, who talks about her inability to read and interpret.
माता और बहनों के प्रणाम करना चाहना और बताना चाहना पिछले 1 साल बिटिन जो हमारा देश में कोरोना काल चल रहा है वह का कारण हमारा बच्चों को बाहर आने जानो बंद होएगी, स्कूल आने जानो बंद होएगी, जगह कारण घर में चिप्स खानन और जूस पीनन, नमकीन खानन और वह का कारण उनको वजन बढ़ गई। टीवी में जो चीज देखते वो वही तई खाना पसंद करदन और उनका यह पता नहीं कि ये जूस में कितना एनर्जी होगी, कितना ताकत होगी। काश हमको यह पता होगी कि हमारे बच्चों के जूस पी कितना ताकत होगी, कितना एनर्जी होगी।
So in this video also we could see Mrs. Mathani, who is a working mother and a homemaker, who talks about her inability to read and interpret food labels on the packaged snacks which her children aged 15 years and 11 years love to munch on. And as COVID is going on and the children are already at home and they are just munching on these snacks and no physical exercise and nothing. Now I would request Dr. Sudhi Bhattacharya, who is Assistant Professor, Department of Community Medicine, Himalayan Institute of Medical Sciences, Uttarakhand, to proceed for the question and answers session.
Good
Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone, and my sincere pranam to Director Sir, AIMS Rishikesh, Dean Sir, Professor Umesh Kapil Sir, and Rekha Madam and Pradeep Agarwal Sir for giving me this opportunity. So before going directly to question and answer, I will tell 2 lines. So indeed today we have witnessed the flow of Gyan Ganga from this Panchadham of Dev Bhumi, that is AIMS Rishikesh. And today we are extremely thankful for Sir Umesh Sir and Rekha Ma'am for your extensive presentation. Namaskar. And already Ma'am has described elaborately regarding the burden of childhood obesity, the increasing rate of childhood obesity, the risk factors, the nutritional transition. Next is misleading advertisements and food literacy and food behavior. And also Umesh Kapil sir also beautifully described the topic of Sanskritization, that is lower level class are going for fast food, that is 10 rupees burger and chow means are available in the villages. And lastly, sir has described beautifully regarding the FOPL system of different countries and the interpretation, understanding, and its future implications. So I am very much thankful to all of you, the eminent speakers. So we have very less time. So I will ask question to ma'am. So there are multiple questions are there. So I will ask one question, that is, what are the most important medical issues related to childhood obesity? Ma'am, you are mute mode, please. Yes.
So should I speak in English or Hindi? For if there are community people also?
Yeah, ma'am, we have got a response that if a few things can be in Hindi also. Just
Okay,
a request.
So obesity जो है उसके कारण शरीर का सारा सिस्टम्स, कोई भी सिस्टम इन्वॉल्व हो सकता है। सबसे कॉमनली होता है हाइपरटेंशन, यानी कि ब्लड प्रेशर बढ़ना। छोटे छोटे बच्चों में जो बड़े इंसान की प्रॉब्लम्स थी वो छोटे बच्चों में आ जाती हैं, उनमें उनका ब्लड प्रेशर बढ़ जाता है। और मोटापा आने से ये 3 गुना ज्यादा हो जाता है हाइपरटेंशन का रिस्क। दूसरी कारण है कि आधे बच्चों में मतलब 50% ऑफ दीज चिल्ड्रन आर आल्सो हैविंग सम फॉर्म ऑफ डिस्लिपिडीमिया। डिस्लिपिडीमिया मतलब यानी कि उनका या कोलेस्ट्रॉल बढ़ गया, या उनका एलडीएल कोलेस्ट्रॉल बढ़ गया, या उनका ट्राइग्लिसराइड्स बढ़ गए, या उनका गुड कोलेस्ट्रॉल जो है वो कम हो गया, यानी कि एचडीएल कम हो गया। ये सारे ऐसे बायोकेमिकल चेंजेस हैं बॉडी में जो कि जब लॉन्ग स्टैंडिंग रहते हैं तो ये हार्ट में और जो नाड़ियों में दे प्रोमोट एथेरोस्क्लेरोसिस, और जो हार्ट अटैक जैसी बीमारियां जो 60 साल पे 70 साल पे होती थी वो अब 20 साल पे 25 साल पे हो जाती हैं। तो दे आर स्लो पॉइजन्स की तरह वो असर करते हैं। इसके अलावा जो स्किन के चेंजेस हैं, जैसे एकैंथोसिस नाइग्रिकैंस कहते हैं उनमें, जैसे बच्चा मोटा होता है इधर गर्दन के आसपास या पीठ के पीछे, उसमें काला जैसे वेलवेट जैसी स्किन आ जाती है, जो कि इंसुलिन सेंसिटिविटी रेजिस्टेंस की निशानी होती है, यानी कि इंसुलिन का शरीर पर असर होना बंद हो गया है। और ये एक लक्षण होता है, दिस इज अ साइन दैट द चाइल्ड इज आल्सो going towards insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes mellitus. And we have seen even 9 years old child presenting with type 2 DM, and 10 years old children who we had never heard of in earlier practices. इसके अलावा एंडोक्रीनल प्रॉब्लम्स भी होती हैं, जैसे कि मेटाबॉलिक सिंड्रोम, जिसमें कि पेट के ऊपर चर्बी बढ़ जाती है, मतलब जिसको हम कहते हैं वेस्ट लाइन बढ़ जाती है। उसके साथ हाइपरटेंशन भी हो गई, टाइप 2 डायबिटीज मेलाइटिस भी हो गई, उसके साथ ये शुगर की बीमारी भी हो गई। तो ये सब ग्रुप ऑफ डिसऑर्डर्स को हम मेटाबॉलिक सिंड्रोम कहते हैं। एडोलेसेंट लड़कियों में एक एंडोक्रिनल प्रॉब्लम हो जाती है जिसको हम कहते हैं पॉलीसिस्टिक ओवेरियन डिजीज, जिसमें कि ओवरी में ही नहीं कोई चेंजेस आते, बल्कि लड़की में पीरियड्स इरेगुलर हो जाते हैं, उसके शरीर पर बाल ही बाल आ जाते हैं, एक्ने हो जाते हैं, हिरुडोनाइटिस हो जाती है। तो ये सारे स्किन चेंजेस, और इसके साथ वो टाइप 2 डायबिटीज मेलाइटिस की भी शिकार हो जाती है। तो ये सब चेंजेस आने से लड़की जो है वो उसको मेंटल चेंजेस भी बहुत सारे आ जाते हैं। एक तो वजन बढ़ना होता है, उसी के कारण बच्चा बहुत डिप्रेशन में चला जाता है, और जब लोग मजाक करते हैं, उनको बुली करते हैं, तो वो और ज्यादा सोशली कट ऑफ होते जाते हैं, और वो धीरे धीरे मेंटल हेल्थ उनकी खराब हो जाती है, और उनको बहुत ज्यादा साइकोलॉजिकल सपोर्ट की जरूरत पड़ती है। जब हम पेट की बात करें तो वो सर डॉक्टर उमेश कपिल सर ने तो ये छेड़ा हुआ है पूरे विश्व में कि ये NAFLD जो है, यानी कि नॉन अल्कोहलिक फैटी लिवर डिजीज, इसको भी एक महामारी का रूप दिया जाए, क्योंकि ये जिस तरीके से मोटापे के साथ एसोसिएटेड है, जिगर में, लिवर में देयर इज फैट कलेक्शन एंड इट लीड्स टू क्रॉनिक इन्फ्लेमेशन एंड क्रॉनिक लिवर डैमेज, जो कि पहले स्टीएटोहेपेटाइटिस में कन्वर्ट हो जाता है और बाद में सिरोसिस भी बन सकता है। तो इसके अतिरिक्त लड़कियों में मोटापे के साथ खासकर गॉल स्टोन्स वगैरह हो जाते हैं, और ये मतलब गॉल ब्लैडर में स्टोन्स हो जाते हैं, और ये कभी दर्द करके भी मैनिफेस्ट कर सकते हैं, और कभी एसिम्प्टोमेटिक भी रह सकते हैं। ज्यादा वजन के वजह से कई बार ग्रोइंग बच्चों में जो एपिफिसिस होता है, हड्डियों की एंड्स वो खिसक जाते हैं। जैसे फीमर है, जो थाई बोन है जहां हिप बोन से जुड़ती है, वो कॉमनली उसका फीमर का जो अपर एंड है वो अलग हो जाता है, तो उससे बच्चा टांग हिला नहीं सकता, उसको बहुत दर्द होती है। तो जैसे ही वो जब मोटापे के लिए कभी किसी डॉक्टर का से कंसल्ट करता है, तो डॉक्टर सबसे पहले कहेगा कि अपनी एक्टिविटी बढ़ाओ, लेकिन ये बच्चा एक्टिविटी नहीं बढ़ा पा सकता। इसका पहले इसका इलाज करना पड़ेगा, फिर उसके बाद ही वो अपनी एक्टिविटी बढ़ा पाएगा। इसके अतिरिक्त नी जॉइंट्स पे ज्यादा वजन पड़ता है, क्योंकि 2/3 ऑफ द वेट जो है मिडिल साइड पे पड़ता है, तो वो मिडिल साइड जब ज्यादा प्रेशर से गिव वे करती है तो टांगे भी टेढ़ी हो जाती हैं। लंग्स में क्या होता है कि इन बच्चों में दमे की शिकायत बहुत ज्यादा होती है, और बहुत ज्यादा चर्बी छाती के आसपास होने से उनमें रिस्ट्रिक्टिव लंग डिजीज भी होती है, तो ये इनको सांस की तकलीफें ज्यादा होती हैं। इसके अतिरिक्त जब ये सोते हैं तो इनका जो फैट, जो थ्रोट के रीजन में जो फैट होता है उसकी वजह से वो सांस की नली कोलैप्स कर जाती है रात को सोते वक्त। तो कई बार ऐसे लगता है जैसे बच्चे के सांस अंदर जा ही नहीं रही, ऐसे करता है लेकिन वो सांस बंद हो जाती है क्योंकि एयर अंदर जा ही नहीं पाती। तो उसको हम कहते हैं ऑब्स्ट्रक्टिव स्लीप एपनिया। इसके अलावा ऑब्स्ट्रक्टिव हाइपोवेंटिलेशन भी हो सकता है, जो कि जिसमें कि दिन में ही बच्चा विदाउट कोई सिम्टम के डिसैचुरेट हो जाता है। तो खासकर जब ये कोविड का सीजन है तब ये चीजें बहुत ज्यादा मैटर करती हैं, क्योंकि अभी तक देखा गया है कि जितनी भी मृत्यु होती है जिस भी कोविड की वजह से, उसमें 30% तो मोटापे की शिकार हुए होते हैं, क्योंकि उनमें मल्टीपल प्रॉब्लम्स होती हैं। फिर गुर्दे के भी इनके जल्दी डैमेज हो जाते हैं। फिर इनका दिमाग पे भी, कई बार दिमाग में इंट्राक्रेनियल प्रेशर बढ़ जाता है, तो जैसे ट्यूमर से होता है दिमाग पे असर, वो हो जाता है। तो आप देखेंगे कि मतलब शरीर के सारे सिस्टम्स वर्चुअली ये ओबेसिटी, मोटापे की वजह से, और इसका सबसे अच्छा इलाज है इससे बचाव। और यही एक बीमारी है जिसमें कि प्रिवेंशन इज ऑलमोस्ट सेम एज मैनेजमेंट। तो हमें इसका जड़ से ही, शुरू से ही इससे अपना बचाव रखना चाहिए, अपने परिवार का बचाव रखना चाहिए, जिससे कि कोई भी मोटापे का शिकार ना हो।
Thank you very much. You have, ma'am, wonderfully explained the complications of childhood obesity. And the next question, it is asked to Professor Umesh Kapil, sir. Sir.
Yeah, tell
Sir,
me.
Yeah. Sir,
हुक्म करो.
sir, does any country has FOPL regulation in place in Southeast Asia region?
All over the world, there are about 100 countries which have the regulation of FOPL in the country.
Okay, sir. This was the question. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Any specific to Southeast Asia, sir, which you would like to put it over here on record?
I'm sorry, sir?
Sir, any specific in Southeast Asia which is currently practicing the FOPL? Sir, आप mute पर हैं. If you can unmute yourself.
I am sorry, I could not understand your question. There are large number of countries, more than 100, who have the FOPL, but in different formats, right? So India is the only country where we have combined the two, the symbol as well as nutrient profile both, and then try to put it in our country, but it's a difficult thing to implement it. European Union, about everybody have, we have a European Union, Asia Pacific region, we have Egyptian, South, that all the regions of the world, they have the FOPL.
Thank you very much, sir. It's over to Nandita, Dr. Nandita.
Thank you so much, sir. Now we would like Dr. Pradeep Agarwal, sir, to present a vote of thanks. Dr. Pradeep Agarwal, sir, is an Associate Professor, Department of Community and Family Medicine, AIIMS Rishikesh, and he is the Principal Investigator for Healthy Food for All. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Nandita. You can just stop sharing the screen. From the bottom of my heart, first of all, I am very thankful to Madam Rekha. Ma'am, we are really very thankful. Just on a small notice from our director, sir, you have given a consent, and the backbone for such a webinars, not only in India, throughout the globe, is Umesh Kapil, sir.
Oh,
we are really honored. No, sir. We are really honored to have such. No, sir. We are really honored to have such a nice speakers. AIIMS Rishikesh is right now the pioneer Apex Institute working towards the FOPL. Along with the first seminar, we will be collaborating with more than 17 different organizations to have similar kind of awareness generation activities, not only between the academia, but other groups also, so that a movement can be started for the FOPL. I would like to specifically mention the few of the comments and appreciations which we have received in YouTube. Ma'am, your presentation was awesome. Sir, aapka presentation was very simple and very learning experience for everyone. Moreover, few have given, if we get an opportunity to implement FOPL, so the community and the delegates have said we should go with the Hindi labels. जो अभी हमने दिखाए भी हैं, most of them are prototype English version. So if we can develop some kind of a Hindi, and we can always recommend to Government of India. Lastly, along with my co-speakers, I would like to thank my Honorable Padam Shri, respected Ravikant sir, Director AIMS, who have got this huge vision for FOPL. My Dean sir, back to Umesh Kapil sir.
No, in fact, just to mention that in all 17 regional languages, this FOPL would be translated and put on the packaged food. So it's not that it only in the English. So as per the Gazette notification, it has to be translated in all major languages of the country, and particularly in each region, the foods which are available, that would be translated and put up, and the font size would be bigger. So they have labeled everything possible under the earth, so that, but that's the reason we have so much of strong resistance from the food industry. Thank you.
Really sir, मतलब that gives me a memory of, जो अगर हम हिंदुस्तान का एक नोट उठा के देखते हैं तो उसमें भी वो सारी languages हैं, and that's really good कि if government is keen to put them in local language. Last, I would like to thank my Professor Vartika Saxena ma'am, head of department. She has been really very instrumental in conducting such kind of webinars. I'm really thankful to my postgraduate student, Dr. Twinkle and Dr. Nandita, who have been really facilitating this whole of the program, along with my support from Arshdeep and Mr. Ankur. They all have been coordinating in background, and without their support, such kind of event is not possible. I'm really thankful to each and everyone. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. And thank you, delegates, for attending the webinar. We had more than 500 registrations and from more than 7 countries that have participated in today's webinar. Shortly, we will be sending their certificates, e-certificates to each and everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.